Yeah, I'm the brainless one. This is episode 304. And honestly, I would love to just come onto this show and just talk about, wrestling and get that in there. But, I've been pretty upset about something for a few days now that happened. And I like to get it off my chest. I'm just waiting for Cousin Jay to pop in because he knows what I'm talking about. But, you know, really quickly, what to expect on this show. We are going to talk about, boom, we're going to talk about what's going on with Bray Wyatt. Absolutely. We're going to talk about the change that has happened with the Bellas.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's up, Cousin Jay?
Hey, all sorts of fun stuff. I really can't wait to really dig into all this stuff. There were a whole bunch of stuff that happened, today, but quite honestly, for the two of us, there was something that happened earlier in the week that to say I was ticked off would be an understatement. Lately, we've been, putting out more original content on the page and doing this, that, and the other thing. And it's been a busy week for me, and I haven't been able to do it quite as much as I would like to. But there is a specific reason why I did not push to do more. And that's going to be, yeah. I'll just leave it at that. I'm sitting here at St. Patrick's Day. I got myself a Guinness right here. What?
So I made that post on Tuesday because I wanted to put more content out, and I said, you know what? Jay brought up a really good point. I should do something with Bray Wyatt. And that is what I posted. Simple, nothing major. What's up? Yep. And I got reported on that. What's up, Mike? I'm I mean, I get when I made that post about Nia Jax after the Women's Royal Rumble. I understand that. But, to have that pulled down, and it wasn't even like it was there for a while. To quote Chris Traeger, I literally went and responded to Mike in a message, and after I responded, I flipped back to the page, and it had already gotten reported. I mean,
this is one of the most innocuous posts we have ever had. No one in their right mind would be offended by this. No one would think that you are wanting to inflict harm on anybody, want to inflict harm on yourself. There is nothing in this post at all that should be considered like a breach of Facebook protocol. I mean, basically, I see more stuff out there on Facebook each and every day that is far more like endangering to the general public in society than that. That post, like nothing, there's nothing wrong with anything that's in that. And it gets reported. What the hell was it reported for? Did someone report it? I don't think so. I think it just goes through a certain filter. And when you got a billion people on the damn platform, I understand you can't sit there and police everything. But quite literally, this is one of those instances where, like, this was a big nothing. This was a big nothing. And one of my pushes lately has been to want to, do things more on the YouTube end. This is pushing me even more towards that. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube page, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube page, because that might be where we end up doing the show live from now on. I'm off about it. It's like, are you fucking kidding me?
Because another option that I've been looking at was the Twitter Spaces. Because I know we actually have a pretty decent following on here as it is that is also following us on Twitter. So that's a possibility. We wouldn't have to, you wouldn't have to see my face anymore. So I guess you would get that as a bonus. But I think it's a possibility. There's avenues. There's ways to do this. I really do miss the days of Periscope, but
Right. Yeah, the butthole looking.
Jay, episode 91 viewer-wise is not going to live up to this episode. I am pissed. Pissed. Like I said, I understand the first post. I get that one. This one, I mean, it's just like, okay. It was not very happy when I saw that. I was just not very happy. I'm just going to leave it at that. But I'm just going to leave. I'm going to leave it at this. I'm going to have to now. This is where this gets interesting for me, because I still want to produce it, because one of my favorite things is the memes. I love doing the memes. It's one of my favorite things to do every week, because the best part about professional wrestling is that even if there's nothing going on now, there's so many different ways that I could go in the past. I was actually
right.
It's funny, because before I was reported, I was on pace to do a third day. I had memes made up for Wednesday that I was doing when I was doing the ones for Bray. I had other inspirations.
Yeah.
I went right out the toilet, right down the toilet.
No, I'm so pissed off about this. Like, I was like thinking to myself, can we do the podcast in a different spot? And it's like, oh, no, we'll do it on Facebook right now. But, like I said, I'm looking for different avenues right now. And I'll, specifically with YouTube, for us to be able to get that, we have to get to 50 subscribers to be able to do it live via like our mobile phones, and it's something we just haven't promoted enough. That's all. But fine. To 50 subscribers, we could do it from our mobile phone, and I think that would actually be a better option for us, because they wouldn't screw with us. Oh, by the way, they allow you to do posts now on YouTube. You could put your memes there. You could put your memes on Twitter. There's all sorts of places we could do that. I know that Instagram is connected with Facebook in some way, shape, or form, but it really does just piss me off beyond belief that a post that has nothing offensive about it, nothing offensive, gets taken down, gets reported. It's like, what in the holy shit?
All I'm going to say is James E. Cornette posts on YouTube. He doesn't go live from Facebook. He's on YouTube. And,
right.
And everybody knows what he is.
So, talking about things that, get people in trouble, Saraya on Dynamite on Wednesday said something that got her into some hot water, and she got fined for it. She called the crowd up there in Winnipeg a bunch of, what is it? Neckbeard, shifty twats. The word twat is what got her in trouble.
There you go.
And they had to apologize to Tony Khan and apologize to a whole bunch of people and got fined for it. I wonder if this is going to get taken down because I said twat.
Jay, you know the old saying, people in glass houses shouldn't throw rocks. So I'm not going to say anything about Saraya, considering I've said, geez, I couldn't even tell you what the worst thing I've ever said in this podcast was, because I've said some really, really, really offensive things. So I'm going to hold judgment on this. So if she got fined for it, I mean, hey, shit happens.
All right, Tim is going to turn that into his new go-to insult.
Very good.
I like that. Mike Rainey, I do want to talk about that.
I do too.
So Roxanne Perez, had the collapsing moment in the ring a couple weeks ago on NXT. Now
What's up, Chris?
end up finding out that she is no longer the NXT Women's Champion, and they're going to decide who the next Women's Champion is by a ladder match. Outside of all of that, I love Shawn Michaels. I love the things he did in the ring. A little bit of his booking is a little bit too much like, hey, I want to remind people of the things I did. Remember that thing I did with the barbershop, except for they had a door? Remember that time when he fainted in the ring? Oh, wait. Like, NXT right now is a replay of Shawn Michaels' career with different people.
So, hold on. So when Carmelo Hayes loses at NXT Stand and Deliver, is he going to stand in the ring the following NXT and go, I lost my smile?
I think they might try to like shift it a little bit and make it seem not quite an exact copy, but maybe my mom said that I need to turn my frown upside down and I don't know what's going on. Tim, you are 100% correct. The NXT parking lot is the most unsafe place in all the United States. Like the security is terrible. Clearly, Full Sail University does not know how to take care of security in that area.
Top flight security of the world. My only thing, Mike Rainey, about them doing the whole reenactment with the Shawn Michaels and possibly, with the Razor Ramon match, with the ladder match for the title, is that with Roxanne, they're being very vague about what happened. They basically did this storyline to cover their bases in case there was something that was wrong.
Yeah.
And they're not saying if it's serious or what it is or what it isn't. That's all Meltzer even said. So, and honestly, I say what I say about Dave Meltzer, but at the end of the day, if it's coming from him, it's about 91% accurate.
Right.
Hey,
Chris Brown, I have one thing I have to say. You're talking about J&J Security. One thing I popped huge for when I saw it, Jamie Noble was one of the people that held back Brock Lesnar on Monday.
Oh, that was my favorite part of Raw.
You know what? As much as we have bashed this Brock Lesnar Omos match of not making any sense, by far the most viewed segment on YouTube for Monday Night Raw. The next closest thing was Rey Mysterio declining a match against Dom at WrestleMania 39, and it only had like half as much. I want to say that the Rey YouTube as of like a day ago was around 500,000, where Omos and Brock Lesnar were over 1 million. And by the time that segment ended, Brock Lesnar was in his car, which already started, and to get to the airport in Rhode Island, in Rhode Island is only about 10 minutes away, so he was probably in the air within 15 minutes after Jamie Noble held him back.
I'm just going to say that whole thing got me a little bit more hyped for that match because I know how big Omos is. And I know I've been saying for a very long time that if we had an intergalactic battle and Earth had to send its mightiest fighter, we're sending Brock Lesnar, and he's coming back home victorious. But the spectacle, like especially like when Omos had his hand up to Lesnar's face and everything, I'm telling you right now, it's spoiler alert. There's only two things that are going to happen at WrestleMania that I'm going to pop for more than when Brock Lesnar F5s Omos at WrestleMania, and that's when Cody wins the title and if Sheamus wins the title.
Yeah.
Yeah? And And when LA Knight goes out, either night one or night two, and has an open challenge to any legend, and that glass shatters, it's going to be, oh.
So, speaking of Sheamus, speaking of things going on, definitely need to get into what's going on with Bobby Lashley and Bray Wyatt. I mean, you want to talk about something that's a hot mess. One thing I want to make clear here is there has been an awful lot of reporting, and none of it has been consistent. So I will not buy into anything specific saying that Bray is having creative differences, that there's one out there saying Bray has a physical injury. There's one saying Bray walked out on the company. None of them are really in conjunction with each other. So I'm going to just say that there is something going on with Bray Wyatt. Bobby Lashley on Twitter came out and specifically said that, like, hey, I worked too damn hard this year to not have a match at WrestleMania. I don't care who it is. I'm going to fight somebody. So, I mean, that's certainly lending some credence to it. And I don't think it's one of these things where, you know, he's trying to get one over on the smart marks.
My question is, because this might be the biggest thing, is I was reading before the podcast, and what I had read was originally it was supposed to be Bobby Lashley versus Brock Lesnar. They moved it up to Elimination Chamber and had that fucked finish so that they could both look strong heading into WrestleMania, and it was going to lead to Brock Lesnar going up against Steve Austin. So when the deal fell through with Austin to fight Brock, instead of going with Brock and Bobby, which would have made a lot more sense, especially with the fuck finish at Elimination Chamber, then why did you revert to, oh, let's have Brock Lesnar go up against Bray Wyatt? And Brock's like, nah, I ain't working with Bray Wyatt. My question is, when the plan was to have them end it at Elimination Chamber, and Brock was going to go fight Stone Cold Steve Austin if they could get him in, who was Bobby Lashley supposed to be lined up against? That's one of the questions I would ask.
So, for Bobby Lashley, this is my fantasy booking for WrestleMania for him if the Bray Wyatt match falls through. Now, Dave Meltzer has said at the current moment that match is still happening. It's going to be Bray Wyatt versus Bobby Lashley. If we don't, this is what I would like to see. After Sheamus defeats Drew McIntyre tonight and gets his match at WrestleMania against Gunther, I will gladly take Drew McIntyre versus Bobby Lashley as a consolation prize.
Oh, God, yes. Oh, yeah. Ooh.
Because Drew McIntyre right now, technically speaking, doesn't have a match. I mean, it's possible to do like a double DQ or double count-out thing and have a triple threat match at Mania, but I would rather have Sheamus have his moment and have it be a one-on-one match.
I do too, but I really do think it's going to end up ultimately being a triple threat. But your idea is, I like your idea better. 2 singles matches. And it's not just because of the fact that I'm not a huge fan of triple threat, fatal 4-way, 5-pack, and whatever, many people, unless it's a Royal Rumble, where the title's on the line against all those multiple peoples. I mean, Elimination Chamber, that's an entirely different, I mean, there's exceptions, obviously, but I don't need a straight-up triple threat match with 3 dudes. It's better if it's one-on-one.
I don't mind Tim's idea that he has there. What if we did Lashley, Omos, and Lesnar? Although, I mean, I don't know. I think it makes more sense, at least at this point, to just keep Omos and Lesnar.
I'm already committed on that. I can't. Changing that match now would be silly. I'm sorry.
But, I mean, and I could see what Tim's saying there about trying to protect Gunther. You know, you've been building this dude up, and if he's going to get this massive push later on in the year, You don't want him to lose necessarily, so you could have a triple threat match. Sheamus pins Drew. I think it's a lazy Booker's way out, and I know that they're trying to have less matches than normal on the WrestleMania card, and having 3 of your big stars in one match will make it so you have less matches, but you'll get more people involved. And one of the things that I read a little bit before the show is they're going to add 2 matches, and it sounds like they're going to be fatal 4-way tag team matches, one of which is going to be a women's tag team match, and another one is going to be men's. So they're going to try to, instead of having a battle royal, have like a fatal 4-way with tag teams to at least assuage some of the people who might have been complaining behind the scenes about, like, hey, we've been working our ass off. Why we get a chance in the big spotlight?
Yeah. And welcome, Doug, from, I think it was East Tennessee. I love that idea. I do. I absolutely love that. Because this whole thing with Ray and Dominic, I don't care. I've actually enjoyed this. Ever since he attacked him at Thanksgiving, I've been on board with this. If they did a thing where Conan was supposed to come out and Dominic attacks him before the induction, and Ray's like, all right, now I have to fight him at WrestleMania? Yep, sign me up. I'm in.
That would be freaking great. I would love that. And then he could get arrested again, and he could spend another night in Slammer. I mean, his cred in jail is going to be better than the Mounties.
Oh man, I and then Vicky's got to be. I don't know if Vicky's still under contract still with AEW. I know her contract's expiring soon. I thought it was sometime after WrestleMania. But could you imagine if that was the case? It would never happen. It would be the greatest thing ever. But if they did that and it was Vicky that went and bailed Dominic out of jail to fight Ray at WrestleMania, anybody else AEW just wants to hand back to WWE? Here, we don't need him. Here, just take him back. We'll just keep Jericho. We'll hold Jericho hostage for another 10 years, but you can have Vicky Guerrero back.
Yeah.
You're basically handing us the man who is the future of WWE and is going to be main eventing WrestleMania 40 against Gunther in Philadelphia next year.
Speaking of WrestleMania, there were a couple of notes that I ran into. One of the things, allegedly to impress potential buyers, is they're looking to cut some costs. I think they're still planning on having a ginormous show for WrestleMania, but they're planning to cut some costs. They did not say exactly what, but usually it ends up being in the pyrotechnic realm of and maybe this is to assuage the guy or that lost his hearing last year at WrestleMania. The only person in the history of professional wrestling to sue a company for losing hearing because of fireworks. Because, oh, by the way, if you go to WrestleMania, guess what? There's fucking fireworks.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think there's going to be less of them. But what do you think about that? Do you think this will showcase less pageantry, or are they just going to, put their eggs in the Charlotte Flair and Roman Reigns basket, and then everybody else kind of just has to have a less impressive looking open?
I remember they're having live performances. They're having all of this stuff. I don't know. It has to be the pyrotechnics. They don't really need the pyrotechnics.
Yeah.
They cut it out years ago, and then they brought it back. I mean, I like, because me, my number one rule, it's all about presentation.
Right.
And WrestleMania is the show of the immortals, and it's the great spectacle of professional wrestling. And I don't know. I mean, you're in the news media. What if they just cut out 9 million freaking video packages that they have between matches? Do you think they need all of those? Like, because honestly, WrestleMania is the only show of the year for any wrestling promotion that you don't even have to watch it for the entire year. Just watch WrestleMania weekend, especially if they're going to do the 2 days, because between the pre-show on both nights and the main show on both nights, you're going to get a whole year's worth of story. Right. I mean, come on. You don't think they're going to be talking about Sami Zayn and, you know, how he's been in the bloodline since basically not too long after last year's WrestleMania? Basically after Vince retired from, you know, his position and everything, even though he came back. But I don't know.
I mean, I get the feeling, I mean, for us, it'll probably be unnoticeable.
Yeah.
Like, you know, because it's still going to be a big, giant spectacle. And the fact that I guess, this is my guess right here, they're going to end up having many of the potential buyers at WrestleMania to showcase the spectacle, but also say, oh, by the way, this is how much money we made off this, you know, weekend worth of shows.
Right.
This could be yours if the price is right. And that's when the first round of bids allegedly for the company is going to happen, is in April. So
they also said that was part of the reason that they were cutting the budget, was to show them how cheap it was to do a WrestleMania. I mean, if you really want...
I'm saying they're going to, you know, maybe they could cut catering. I mean, Cassius Ohno's not there anymore, but, you know, they still have the Dozer. They still have Braun Strowman. You know, there are some hefty eaters in there. You got the Eater of Worlds. But beyond that, you got Doug in the chat saying he believes that Austin Theory is going to defeat John Cena, R-Truth's childhood hero, at WrestleMania. And he thinks that Braun Breaker is going to be the man to take the belt off him. What do you say, Brainless One?
I really am curious to see who walks out of Stand and Deliver as NXT champion, because honestly, I could see them doing it with either one of them. The loser of the NXT Championship match of Stand and Deliver is going to be the new television. Woo! United States champion.
I could see that. So Doug asking if Bobby Lashley is not fighting Bray, who do we see Lashley fighting? I mean, I put forth my thing a little bit earlier. I would personally love if Drew McIntyre loses to Sheamus tonight, which I'm going to say that it's more likely than not that we're going to end up with a triple threat match for the Intercontinental title at WrestleMania. But if I had my pick, my wish, I want to see Bobby Lashley against Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania. What's more likely is Bobby Lashley against someone like LA Knight, who allegedly got a huge reception at Madison Square Garden, and people high up took notice. So hopefully we will get more of LA Knight, and allegedly he is in for a ginormous push after WrestleMania. Yeah?
Well, yeah, Jay, he's been saying it since his debut in NXT when he showed up at the TakeOver. I forget which one it was. He walked in and he said, if you ain't talking about LA Knight, you ain't talking,
Yeah.
I am on board with this. The man survived Vince McMahon booking hell. He overcame being Max Dupree and telling people to titillate the senses and got away from all that shit. I mean, we still see it. I saw it this week on Raw. The same dead look is on Mansoor's face when he was taking the pictures of Otis. I don't know if it looked as dead as I did when I saw Otis getting his pictures taken like he did. But no, he overcame one of the worst gimmicks that Vince McMahon has come up with in the last year. I'm not even going to say all time.
I'm not even talk year. Let's talk Vince McMahon's career. This was Red Rooster level atrocity. Taking a dude as talented as LA Knight and turning him into a manager of male models. And then you sit there and, I mean, it's when they did the York Foundation back in WCW back in the day, when they tried to take Ricky Morton, who was, you know, he looked like a long-haired, you know, like redneck hillbilly.
He looked
right,
like the guy you go and you get a loan from at the bank in like Alabama.
But they tried to make him in the York Foundation, like they put him in a suit and they slick, and I'm like going, it just doesn't work. It doesn't work for Mansoor. I mean, quite honest, for Mansoor, I think this is about as bad of a gimmick as getting slapped with slapjack.
Oh. I don't know if Max Dupree is Red Rooster bad. I really don't. I mean, that's bad. I still think that at the end of the day, it's not even the worst thing he's done in the last year. Jay, he ripped my heart out last year in April, the Monday after WrestleMania, when cousin Larry from Perfect Strangers came out and approached Kevin Owens and he called him Elias. I died that day, Jay. I died. And I don't even care if Elias never wins another match in the rest of his career. I never want to see him shave again. And the fact that they're putting him with Rick Boogs is already just slowly but surely killing me. Unless they win the tag team titles, then we can talk.
Okay.
But
other possible WrestleMania thing is apparently they're trying to come up with ideas for something for Big E to do. And I'm going to guess when they're saying this, they're not talking about having Big E on the pre-show. They're talking about something, I think, more than that. Now, he hasn't made or hasn't updated anybody on his physical condition. It could be possible that, like, he's cleared and nobody knows, but it's also possible. I remember when I think it was the first one-night stand for ECW. At that point, Taz couldn't do anything. His neck was so jacked up.
Yep.
But they still had him get physical with people. He just didn't take a bump. Is it possible that we get Big E returning and getting or Big E getting physical without, you know, making a return or something along those lines? And on that note, Kofi Kingston, who last week they said will not require surgery. Well, we found out he's going to require surgery. You know. So I think his ankle injury is going to be more extensive. And unfortunately for the New Day, like, this has really stunted them in the last handful of years because, like, there's always been somebody injured.
And it's nothing against Kofi Kingston. Kofi Kingston's been in WWE for like almost 15 years. He's been traveling the world and he's been busting his ass. I mean, he finally got his just dues at WrestleMania a few years ago, but it's just what happens when you've been doing this. It's like they've said, they're not performing ballet.
Right.
I'll tell you, after you mentioned Big E and everything that I was reading beforehand, like Meltzer saying that they wanted to do something with Woods and Kingston with Big E at WrestleMania, and he's like, I don't know if it's going to be physical. What if it's what happened with Triple H last year? What if it's Big E coming into the ring and just dropping his boots in there and just calling it a career with like a stack of pancakes and a box of Bootios? I mean, it would suck.
You could see that, and it would be, you know, definitely one of those bittersweet moments where it's like a dude who did win the heavyweight championship, but a lot of things left on the table. A lot of untapped potential as far as being a single star. But
update, we have two F&M Marks Hall of Famers on one screen as F&M Marks Hall of Famer Tommy and Timmy are live from Tommy's phone.
There we go.
Are they going to do the old switcheroo at some point? Like what the Garcia twins used to do with the twin magic, and then like 20 minutes later they're going to be on Timmy's feed?
Wait, who's the Garcia twin?
I would laugh. Honestly, Timmy, if you guys did that, I'd laugh my ass off. But
so that now that you mentioned the Garcia twins, the former Bella twins, Nikki and Brie, officially are no longer contracted employees with WWE, and they have now rebranded themselves, and in the statements I saw said that this is permanent. So even if for whatever reason they ended up at WWE again, they sound like they're going to be the Garcia twins. Your thoughts, Brainless One? I know you don't love them.
Excuse me a second. Give me 1 second. I'll be right back. Hold on. There's only one thing I could do in a time like this.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Wait.
Oh my God! I don't know what I'm gonna do. Oh no! The Bella twins are no longer the Bella twins. Whatever am I gonna? Oh boy, who cares? I don't care. I have not given two shits, a rat's ass, or nay, I say, a flying fuck about the Bella twins in their entire existence. You and I have discussed when it comes to professional wrestling, if you want to be known as a great, what memorable things have you done? You know, now Hogan slammed the Giant and turned on Randy Savage, so Hogan's a freaking GOAT because he's got two of the most legendary moments. Steve Austin whacked Vince McMahon in the head with a bedpan and was seen at WrestleMania 13 passed out in a pool of his own blood. The Iron Sheik beat Bob Backlund. The beer truck. I mean, there's so many people who have things that they've done, and I ask you, what memorable thing has the Bella Twins done in their entire existence that has nothing to do with their TV shows that they were a part of?
And one of the refrains we always have to show is like, as much as their stars, like they definitely have a higher opinion of themselves than you know, the stars that they actually were in the ring. I would say because of Total Divas and Total Bellas, they became, you know, more widely known. But again, what moment do you remember from them? I know I remember one of your favorite things, which was the lead up to the match, John Cena and Nikki versus The Miz and Maurice, and Nikki always saying, "My man." But the greatest thing about that was The Miz and Maurice. That they made that work. That was one of the greatest things that happened that entire WrestleMania season. It was one of those storylines I was not looking forward to, and Miz and Maurice killed it and made me invested in that.
Them doing what they did is what happened with Sami Zayn and Johnny Knoxville last year once Sami Zayn lost the Intercontinental title. I enjoyed the hell out of that. The Miz, that might have been one of the funniest things I've ever seen. And there you go, The Miz. Even that. This might be the door greeter at Walmart. But honestly, and you know what, Jay? I'm glad that we're at this point because you know what? Now it lets me get to my top 10 list. And you know what this week's top 10 list is? Yeah? The top 10 things I'm going to miss about the Bella Twins being in WWE. I have nothing written down, Jay. Literally, that's all I wrote down was nothing. It says nothing. I wrote nothing down because there's nothing about them not being in WWE that I'm going to miss. Not a thing. What am I going to miss when the constant regurgitation of my man as it freaking echoed in my brain and made me just hate myself? Or we're going to talk about how when Brie Bella was in the ring and she concussed Liv Morgan because she wasn't paying attention when she was delivering the kicks?
She was by Bill Goldberg, and then Bret Hart had a tism about how that happened.
I mean, really, isn't she like the longest reigning Divas champion?
I think so.
There you go.
That's she have. What great match did she have?
That's all you need to know. She was the greatest Divas champion of all time.
The only thing I even vaguely remember from her is when she had the rivalry with Stephanie McMahon. The culminated in what I would consider a way better than I thought match. And I think it was at SummerSlam.
And that was Brie. It was Brie and Stephanie. And they even put it on A&E. It's on the biographies. It's in the rivalries thing. Brie Bella and Stephanie McMahon. And there you go. I'm going to miss the Bella Twins in WWE about as much as I miss Kazardi.
Yeah.
Who else? That's what I should have did. I should have did the top 10. I'm going to do that for next week. Next week's show, top 10. Hold on, I'm going to write this down. Top 10 next week. Who I'm going to miss as much as the Bella Twins.
Speaking of a couple of people I actually do miss a little bit that actually had an on-screen reunion. A reunion of two of the three people from one of the greatest segments in Monday Night Raw history. In Impact Wrestling, on camera, we had Santino Marella and Vladimir Kozlov together.
That was something. What's up, Jessica? Thanks for tuning in. One of my low-key favorite tag teams from such a crappy era of tag team wrestling. I enjoyed them as a tag team, especially because you and I favor one of the greatest segments, like you mentioned, Tea Time with Santino. Because as good as Santino and Sheamus were on that together, Kozlov was just the chef's kiss.
He was the catalyst for most of that.
Oh, it was
because you beat him.
Because you beat him. Oh, that's.
But I was happy to see that happened. And I was like, going, hey, look, Kozlov. All right, man. Good for you.
Chris
yeah, that colonoscopy hurts.
Oh.
All right, a couple other WrestleMania things that came up is we are going to officially get Edge versus Finn Balor, and they didn't outright say it, but I mean, I'm 99% sure we're going to get the Demon because they talked about Hell in the Cell and, you know, the Demon being born. So I'm going to guess it's going to be Adam Edge versus Finn Balor in a Hell in the Cell match. And, you know, that's one of those things. Do you sit there and put something like that? Like, is that going to be the first match of, let's say, night 2? Is this going to be in the middle of the night? Because, I mean, putting that cell in there ain't going to be, you know, it's not always quick.
I would say they're probably going to do it night 1 and just take it down by night 2 because you'll have enough time instead of just, like, taking off. I don't know. I have no idea when they're going to book that. And
because, no, we've already heard basically that it's going to be Logan Paul and Seth Rollins possibly as the curtain jerker for night 1, and it seems like it's going to be Charlotte Flair and Rhea Ripley for the main event of night 1. And allegedly there was some politicking about that, and Sami Zayn, who probably deserves the main event spot, is not getting it.
He's not even getting a title match, Jay. He's getting a title match, but it's not the title match. He's not fighting Roman. He's going to end up teaming up with the worst wrestler in WWE, and they're going to win the tag team titles from Jay and Jimmy.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, yeah. And I can tell you this. One of the funniest things was the Twitter exchange that I saw between Finn Balor and Mick Foley.
Yeah.
So Finn Balor reaches out to Mick Foley on Twitter and goes, "Hey Mick, any help?" And Mick goes, "Hi Finn, I appreciate you reaching out to me, but even though I have appeared in more of these matches than anybody else, I've never won one. The best advice I give you is watch all of my matches to see what I do and do the exact opposite."
And it fits so well after Mick Foley posted his resume to join the Judgment Day, the Spooky Pals. Before. Like, it put a smile on my face when I saw that. I was like, oh, this is so good. So good. I wonder if there was like another like teardrop or whatever that ended up on Mick's face when he tweeted that to him.
Oh, we can't put Mick in there twice, right? We can't put him in our Hall of Fame twice. I mean, we probably could.
Hey, we could in all the faces of Foley separately if we wanted to.
Can we like retroactively induct a different member of the Foley clan before, and then we could just induct him? No, because then I'm going to want to do this again when he does something awesome next year.
Chris Brown, I had not heard that Christian is no longer with AEW. Where did you see that?
That is interesting. I didn't even know that either.
Yeah.
That was like the same thing with Vicky Guerrero. I knew her contract was up soon, but I was thinking that it was later in the year and they just told her to go home because they don't need her for anything.
Possibly. Doug, I have I don't think Edge at this point would allow that to happen where he gets thrown off the top of the cage, specifically Hell in the Cell, just because of his neck issues. I don't think he would do that at this point, and I think these two dudes are smart enough to have a classic Hell in the Cell match without doing that. Like Edge and Seth Rollins, like a year and a half ago, had one of the greatest Hell in the Cell matches without all the
absolutely
getting crazy. Without getting ridiculous, like Mick Foley ridiculous or Shane McMahon ridiculous.
Now, if they did a thing where Finn Balor, did the thing across the top of the thing, hanging from the cell, and then try to do coup de grace, okay, yeah, that's about the extent of what I want to see. I really don't need to see Adam Edge getting thrown off the cage. I'm sorry, I don't. Neither one of them really should. You said,
spring chickens these days.
Yeah, like Jay said, if they wanted some dum-dum to get thrown off the top of the cell, they fired Shane last year.
Right.
After one of the greatest Royal Rumble performances of all time.
Sad.
Jay, I know we were talking about earlier with LA Knight getting out of the purgatory with his old gimmick that Vince lassoed him with, and I know we said the same thing with Elias. There was one other name that I saw today that will be losing his old Vince gimmick and getting his original gimmick back.
I hope for this person that when their father is no longer contractually obligated to not be on TV, that their father is possibly the head of a faction with them.
Oh, God.
One Butch going back to being Pete Dunne. Triple H undoing another injustice. done by Vince McMahon. At this point, as much as I'd love Gunther to go back to being Walter, it's too late. Gunther has been exposed so much that I think it'd be really difficult to kind of switch to Walter again.
Honestly, the fact that Walter really embraces the Gunther character makes it that much better. And I actually have gotten a lot more comfortable calling him Gunther. So I agree. He's got to stay as Gunther. It's not a terrible name. It was just the fact that the original name was named after a Nazi U-boat pilot or whatever the hell it was. And
yeah.
Gunther. If it was just Gunther, I don't think anybody. Well, I mean, probably everybody has a problem. It's wrestling. Every time, any time of
Facebook this week that everybody has a problem about everything, and that's why we're trying to get onto YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube page at the FN Marks. That's the letter T, the letter H, the letter E, FNMARKS. You subscribe, and we will subscribe back to you. Thank you.
And it's funny too because like my posts were getting taken down on Instagram. That's why I stopped posting them on Instagram because I'm like, I'm not going to keep doing this if, a third of of the pictures I'm doing are going to be reported and taken down. That's why I kept going to Facebook. But I understand the Nia Jax thing that I got in trouble with the first time. But, I just, this one just really, I'm done talking about it. Nope. Oh, so speaking of Rey Mysterio, because we were talking about him earlier,
yeah,
there is 3 people who have been announced or quasi-announced for the WWE Hall of Fame. On SmackDown, I believe we were actually on the show when they announced it, that the legendary Rey Mysterio is going into the WWE Hall of Fame. I'll say this real quick about Rey Mysterio. He's the greatest. He's my favorite luchador, and he's the greatest luchador of all time.
I can't dispute that. I can't dispute that at all. Ray is well deserving of the Hall of Fame. One thing that's unclear is Ray's supposed to be the headliner this year because one of the thoughts was that Batista was going to headline this year, and some things have come out that said, even though Big Dave, like as of a couple months ago, said, yeah, I'd love to go in this year into the Hall of Fame. But apparently they're not pulling the trigger on it this year. I don't know if they want to have him as part of the WrestleMania 40 induction class. I mean, he's going to get there at some point. But, if you end up having The Rock next year at WrestleMania, it's like going, it would seem like an apropos time to actually put him at the Hall of Fame at the same time. So Batista wouldn't even be headlining a class if he goes in next year. It'd be Rock.
They're not going to have, they can't even have The Rock and Batista at WrestleMania together, especially after Batista said what he said about The Rock as an actor. That's why The Rock really screwed the pooch this year.
He definitely did, but I bet Rock doesn't even take offense to that. He's like, oh, yeah, you know what? I'm out there to make movies that people are entertained by. He acts well enough and has presence to get people to come to the movie theater and pay for a ticket. I enjoy most of The Rock's movies. I know that I'm not going to be able to solve the world's problems when I get out of it, but I'm going to be like, going, you know what? It was fun watching that shit get blown up. When he did the Rampage movie, I loved the hell out of it. Like, one of my favorite video games growing up was like, I think I'll date myself here, but like when my mom would go to the Ames in Southington on Queen Street, they had Rampage as a game. So when she was in the checkout line, I'd get a couple of quarters and I'd play Rampage. The Rock specifically wanted to do a Rampage movie because he played the video game growing up. And I just thought it was a cool way for them to do the story. And I enjoyed the hell out of the movie. And he has a bunch of movies like that where I'm like going, was that a great movie? No, but I had fun. And I don't think he takes to Batista saying, yeah, I want to be a good actor. I don't think he cares.
And thank you for reminding me of the Ames on Queen Street in Southington. My back now hurts. You're going to talk about the movie theaters in Bristol that are no longer there? Bristol Cinema?
Are you talking about Lowe's, or are you talking about Cinema 1 and 2? Do you even remember Cinema 1 and 2?
Lowe's.
Okay. Cinema 1 and 2 is where I saw Rocky 4, and I saw Ghostbusters and Karate Kid.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah?
Yeah? It's oh, man, the Ames. Oh.
Ugh.
Now I feel old. But also...
Mysterio announced for the Hall of Fame, but we do have one other confirmed name and one that sounds like it's all but confirmed.
Yes, the confirmed name is, I believe, Stacy Keibler?
No. This Wednesday, Ric Flair officially announced the Great Muta as the
That's right.
inductee into the Hall of Fame. And Stacy Keibler, it sounds like it's imminent that she will be the third name for the class of this year.
Now, you can understand my confusion over who was the confirmed name, considering the source that it came from on Wednesday about him being in the Hall of Fame.
I mean, this is the same source who Ric Flair does a very good job of trying to win Brainless just about every week, and he ended up, picking a social media fight with Dutch Mantel over the fact that more or less Dutch Mantel, I think on a podcast, said how much he thought that Ric Flair's last match sucked shit. Ric Flair, I read somewhere that he even admitted that his last match was the shits.
Drizzle shits.
But yet he's yelling and complaining about Dutch Mantel calling the crap. And where Mantel was specifically talking about, the match itself, Rick ended up taking, personal jabs at him, personal jabs at his career. And it's like going... You're so petty and pretentious. It's sad seeing how bitter and old
Ric Flair is.
Yeah, it's just sad. It's like I used to see him as fun in the life of the party, and it's like, oh no, not at all.
Honestly, Jay, the Dark Side of the Ring episode that they did about the plane ride from hell, I lost all respect for Ric Flair I had. I'm the only thing I know about Ric Flair, other than the fact that you're right, he just sounds like an old, bitter, senile bastard, is the fact that he's going to die in the ring because he's not going to be happy. Because he was like, yeah, my last match is going to suck. It's only going to take a matter of time before he's like, you know what, no. And he's going to go, oh, Triple H, woo, we were part of, evolution and everything. And, I need another last match. You fought Shawn Michaels. You fought Mr. WrestleMania, Rick. What else could you possibly need for a retirement match? Well, it's not our fault that you decided to go to TNA and throw those shitty-ass punches at Abyss. And you threw, that was Hulk Hogan threw his Hall of Fame ring. I'm sorry.
Right.
But come on, Rick.
Ric Flair and TNA, outside of that last match against Sting, he actually had some decent matches. I always come back to the street fight he had against Foley, which I thought was a very solid confrontation. And when he did the Hogan tour of Australia with Umaga and that merry band, and Ric Flair was bleeding about as much as Jon Moxley. And oh, by the way, the count is now up to 2 matches. Two in a row. Jon Moxley is not bled.
I'm impressed. I mean, that's just incredible. 2 matches. You think he finally heard everyone talking shit about him because he blades every match? I still think the the picture I sent a couple weeks ago to the group chat with you guys, where it was like Moxley 5 seconds into a match and it's all bleeding, and Cody Rhodes 5 seconds into a promo and he's in tears. My dad is Dusty Rhodes.
Yeah.
But I thought it was. Since you mentioned it, I did watch that 6-man tag match because I was actually kind of intrigued by it. Because, hey, Stu Grayson's back. I like the Dark Order when Stu Grayson was in it. Stu Grayson's my 3rd favorite member of the Dark Order all time after Brody and Evil Uno. But that was a fun match. Even though the man with the 2nd best buckshot lariat was in the match with the Dark Order.
Well, in general, I had a lot of issues with Dynamite. And that match, like, had a lot of fun stuff. Stu Grayson went a little bit John Cena SummerSlam 2010 here, though. He got a spike pile driver outside the ring, then took another pile driver in the ring, kicked out at 2, and then did the thing where, like, person was going to run against the ropes and he ran after him. So it was like going, you just got 2 pile drivers and you sold it about as well as The Undertaker in his first year of existence. Like seeing him do the stuff where he's like jumping over, the ring post and doing the flip over the top. It's freaking impressive. It looks great. I love the fact that Stu Grayson is officially back, all elite. Dynamite was a fucking shit bomb on Wednesday. It was one of the worst shows I have ever seen. And I have been like, it would. I can't even speak of it, really. Like, they had the segment with MJF, and MJF couldn't even save the damn thing because you had Sammy Guevara, who is clearly a heel, going in there and cutting a babyface promo about how he's had to scratch and claw and do this, that, and the other thing before he kind of turns heel again about 5 seconds later. Then you have Jungle Boy, who's kind of cutting the face promo, doing this, that, and the other thing. And then what does he do? He ends up using the microphone and hitting MJF from behind like a heel. And it's like, are you a heel? Are you a face? And then you had Darby Allin come in there, and Darby Allin was kind of all over the place too. It's like, do you guys even know what the hell your characters are? Are you a face or are you not a face? And I understand, like, there's things as anti-heroes and what have you, but, like, when you're as manic as that, it's like, did Big Show book this?
Jay.
It felt like Big Show.
I was in – there was 2 things that really caught my attention leading into Wednesday to watch Dynamite. It was the rebar mitzvah, whatever the fuck that was going to be. I don't even know if that was even a rebar mitzvah or not, but it was what it was.
Right.
And I was curious to see the 6-man tag. I was also curious to see what was going to happen with Jade Cargill. I will watch if Jade Cargill's on. I'll admit, I actually like Jade Cargill. Because I was curious if they were going to do Taya Valkyrie, and they eventually did and all that stuff. I'm going to say this. Number one, you wanted to complain about Stu Grayson no selling. Jay, they do a lot of really good things in AEW, telling stories, breaking up stables, and not selling, or not 3 of them.
And another thing, like, that happened on Dynamite that, like, just, I love Orange Cassidy. I thought for the most part his match with Jarrett was fine, but there was a part where he was Orange Cassidy was trying to get I forget what the big Indian dude's name is.
Satnam Singh, I think it is.
So he wanted to do the Eddie Guerrero thing of pretending he got like hit by Nam Singh and getting him thrown out from ringside, right? He handed the guitar to Nam Singh right in front of the referee. The referee saw him hand the guitar to him, and then he went on the ground and held his knee. And the referee ejected Nam Singh. This was one of the most atrocious wrestling shows I saw. I was like going, you know what? For once, I don't have a ton of things going on Wednesday. Let me throw on Dynamite and truly watch the whole thing. And I was like, I am freaking appalled. It was terrible.
I'm just going to tell you this much. I too decided to watch, even though I've been very, very adamant about what I will and will not watch on AEW, but I gave him a shot this week. I was curious about the Rebar Mitzvah. I thought it was a nice idea to have the 4 pillars of AEW in the ring together. I thought that was a really nice thing. They didn't really do much with it after that. I was like, okay, fine. The 6-man tag match was all right. I didn't get as upset about the Stu Grayson no selling, just because he was doing better selling in the ring at some points than John Cena ever did in his career. But I thought the match as a whole was cool. My only issue is I do not see Wheeler Yuta as a heel. I cannot take that seriously. I can't. And I have a problem with that. Yeah. And it's going to cause an issue, too, because Eddie Kingston's now feuding with Cesaro over in Ring of Honor. And, you know, Kingston and Moxley are like this, so what is that going to mean for them? But that was fine. The Jade Cargill thing where they brought out, I think the girl's name was Nicole Matthews or some shit like that.
Big deal in Canada, and had her get more or less squashed. That's completely fine. But, you know, having that be the way to bring in Taya Valkyrie, hey, good. But even that, like, when Taya showed up and in the ring, like, even that felt like there was a lot of botch is the wrong word, but it felt sloppy.
If they don't have Taya be the one now, because her debut in the way she did, she's not going to be looked at as a legitimate threat if she loses to Jade Cargill. I'm sorry. It's not going to happen. And it bothered me that was the route they went, because I would have rather have seen her, accept the open challenge and lose in a valiant effort and then ended up on the show. Right. Because you know me, I want my Chris Statlander to be the one that ends up taking it from Jade Cargill. No offense to Valkyrie, Mrs. John Morrison, Johnny Nitro, Johnny Excitement, Johnny Elite.
Johnny, whatever place he happens to be in at that time. So one thing I do, we did talk about Orange Cassidy earlier, and during that match, at the end of it, you had Trent Beretta coming out, but everybody was wondering what was going on with one Chuck Taylor, another part of the Best Friends, who did not show up to help out. Apparently, Chuck Taylor had some sort of dental emergency where he it required apparently immediate surgery. And my first question with this whole thing, Britt Baker, DMD, had Dynamite. Why didn't he just go to her? She could have fixed him all up right in that moment. It could have been a moment for All Access, which we would have saw after it debuts on March 29th. It would have been something great. Dr. Britt Baker, doing her thing on Dynamite, but also moonlighting as her DMD.
I would be impressed, and I would have an entirely different level of respect for Britt Baker if she went to the wrestling shows with the equipment to perform like a root canal. Because as somebody who's been on the receiving end of a couple of those are not pleasant, and I don't think you could really do those on the fly, unfortunately. So, but if she did, like I said, if she did have the equipment and all of the materials she would need to do a root canal, again, I would have all the respect in the world. I already do have respect for Britt Baker because she is a professional wrestler and a dentist. So, but I can understand that. But I mean, it is what it is. At least somebody came. It's not. I mean, I was worried weeks ago. Right? Actually, a couple months ago when we were doing the award show about how I thought they were going to break up the best friends because they kind of teased it when they had the All Atlantic, now International Championship, the Shazam International Championship, by the way.
All right, so go ahead and finish, man.
But there was one thing, because I agree, because it wasn't the show was bad, and I said, what am I going to do here? And then they finally showed us what QTV was.
What were your thoughts on that, brainless one?
If you're going to say that you're no longer part of a stable and that you break up this stable, but yet people from that previous stable are now in this new stable that you have, well, it's kind of the same thing. So the fact was, last week I said that they had 23 stables and they dropped it down to 22. Oh, no, they just got rid of the factory. They rebranded it, made QT Marshall out to be like Harvey. I don't know what the fuck I witnessed in that whole thing on Wednesday, but what did they just do to Hobbs? What is the point of QTV? I don't even understand it. This is why, Jay, when I say that I don't want to give them the benefit of the doubt and to try, because I've done it before, but now this QTV and people were trashing it and QT Marshall's trying to defend what he was doing. Oh, we were just trying to have fun. Who? It was terrible. That looked more phony than Kenny Omega wrestling the blow-up doll.
That's high praise.
Oh, my God.
But the thing is, for me, if Tony Khan is having trouble booking, having like a show and characters that make sense on his flagship show, and he got declining ratings, and you got declining ratings on your Friday show, and you're starting up Ring of Honor, and he's going to be head of that too. But yet, there's going to be a third AEW show. Now they're going to sit there and pull on my heartstrings, and they're going to have it at 6:05 on the Superstation on Saturday night, and I might need to tune in just because it's 6:05 on the Superstation. But allegedly, they're going to have a third show. It's going to be 1 hour long, and it's going to be called Collision. At least is what the belief is. And, I'm all for it. They have a large roster. There are people who are not showcased who should be showcased. And, I mean, I guess this is something, but Tony Khan is already overburdened.
You think? He's already doing the thing with the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think he's like president or some shit with the Jacksonville Jaguars. We saw him hugging one of his players after they won in the playoff game against the Chargers. He has a soccer team that he's part of, like a president or a minority owner or some kind of – he's in that too.
It's in England.
Yeah, and he also runs AEW. He also runs Ring of Honor. So he has Dynamite's thing he has to do. He has to do Rampage's thing. He's going to be doing Ring of Honor's booking. By the way, they're going to start doing house shows. You bet your ass he's going to be booking that shit too, because they have nobody else who could book. If they really, really, really wanted to utilize Jeff Jarrett the best way they can, make him book something, anything. I don't care. He can book Rampage, all I care.
I think he's supposed to be the house show dude. I think he is. But one thing I do want to bring up about the house shows is it's been alleged out there that the talent is not going to get paid any more than they currently are. for doing the house shows. Now, there are a couple of things that, like, for me, for unpacking all this. So, Tony Khan, I appreciate the fact that he does not lay off professional wrestlers.
Or cocaine.
He actually he allows the contract to run out because he's trying to do business in a way of like, you know what? I made an agreement with you. I'm going to fulfill my agreement, even if I don't feel like the quality of your work is up to snuff. I'm going to fulfill the agreement that I set forth with you.
Did you see his post when he announced that Stu Grayson was back to being all elite? I've never seen a more condescending post in my life. He's back and he's motivated more than ever. So clearly you're stating that you let his contract expire and not re-signed him because he wasn't motivated.
But
he is on cocaine. The snowman is on cocaine. I'm sure he's on coke like his name is Michael P.S. Hayes. How about that? He
loved the cocaine.
He's on it like Ultimate Warrior cutting a promo in the 80s. Hulk Hogan cutting a promo in the 80s.
Macho Man cut a promo in the 80s.
The Iron Sheik when he was in Vince McMahon's office.
Sheik, you tested positive. Yes!
Yes.
But so the thing with the payoffs house show, I think that's something Tony is going to have to address. I appreciate the fact, one, he didn't lay off anybody during the pandemic who was on his roster. And in general, he doesn't do that. He also, in general, does not have like non-compete clauses. In general, people can go to the next place without being held hostage for a bit of time. All that being said, even if they have these guaranteed contracts, what motivation does a performer have when you're asking them to work more and you're not paying them more if you're getting more money coming in? It's something I think he needs to remedy in some way, shape, or form. And it's not like he needs to change it to where, like, going, all right, you're going to be making like an extra $50,000 for doing a house show. I think he just needs to have something that's like a good faith show of like going, I thank you for doing this. I respect the fact that you're doing this, because basically up until this point, we've just been doing television shows and we've been doing pay-per-views. So having somebody like, more or less, you're saying to somebody like Jon Moxley, you're kind of doing this pro bono at this point. Not that Moxley probably needs money, but
who wants a pizza party?
Hey!
Yeah, it's not going to work, Tony Khan. These are paid professionals. These are a lot of these are people who actually worked in a real wrestling organization called WWE. You know, it's that organization that would never be caught dead with three jabronis who have absolutely tried everything in their powers to ruin professional wrestling.
Mm.
They're known as Nicholas, Matthew, and Kenneth. Kenneth Olivier.
Another AEW note here is, well, not technically an AEW note, but CM Punk teased possibly returning to Ring of Honor. Would that be a way to circumvent being with the Bucks and Kenny and fulfilling his obligation to Tony Khan to wrestle for the contract that he signed with him? Is this a way out?
Yeah, it's just an easy way, and it's also a way for you to continue enabling your EVPs. CM Punk did say, somebody called him out, and he went to one fan and said, I'm going to wrestle just to piss you off.
Yeah. But it would be just another thing in the line of Tony Khan. He wants to be everybody's friend, and he doesn't want to rock the boat. But it's like, dude, you are the head of several companies here. You got a lot of people with big egos get deeply bruised quickly, and there are sometimes where you need to make a decision, be the boss, and not be their friend, and be like, you know what, you motherfucker. You motherfucker, get your shit together. Let's all make some money and stop being a little bitch. And let's have some fun and stop being bitches.
I think we finally got the Nicholas brother switcheroo. I've been waiting for it.
Hey, you know what? I would love for Moxley to have a count of the different venues he's bled in. I'm wondering if it would. I mean, I'm sure right now Ric Flair probably about as high like Wilt Chamberlain, the amount of women he said he slept with. That's the amount of places Ric Flair has bled in, and I'm gonna. Moxley at this point is probably only bled in about 1/10 of what Flair did because of all those years under Vince where they were not allowed to blade. So right now he's just making up for lost time. But I'm sure he's going to end up having a match, against a blow-up doll where he will end up getting busted open. It will be the first time ever.
No, Jay, because they'll speak that into. You're going to end up speaking that into existence. Where he's going to end up fighting the same sex doll that Kenny Omega and Kota Ibushi both wrestled. Possibly in the same night, too. 7 Canadian destroyers. He ate 7 Canadian destroyers and kicked out at 2, Jay. So you're going to tell me that you were upset that Stu Grayson got pile-driven on the concrete outside the ring after I watched Kenny Omega eat not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, but 7 Canadian destroyers in a row.
I said, head on a pillow, made of concrete.
Against an opponent that I would be surprised if it weighed more than like 2 or 3 pounds.
In an order that might surprise you.
Oh, speaking of people who have wrestled in New Japan, Jay White, the update is, this is my favorite thing. I had to mention it, though. So the dirt sheets are saying that Jay White is about 50-50 between AEW and WWE. And in other big news in regards to stuff like that, the sky is blue and grass is green.
Yeah. Along with the sky is blue and grass is green, Forbidden Door 2 has been officially announced. It will be happening June 25th at the Scotia Bank Center in Toronto. So AEW seems to be doing a tour of Canada. And it just strikes me right now that you're doing this and you have the blessing of Owen Hart's wife. Why aren't you doing the Owen Hart Cup in Canada?
Yep.
It's possible. I mean, they could set it up so you could have Forbidden Door Owen Hart Cup where you got people from New Japan going against the guys from AEW, and the finals culminates at Scotia Center in Toronto. It would only make sense. Let's see if Tony Khan does the sensical thing and does the Owen Hart Cup and has the finals in Canada.
I'm going to say no, just for this reason. If, and I really do stress if, that were the case they were to go and have the Owen Hart Cup finals in Toronto for Forbidden Door, there is a very, very, very good chance that the person representing New Japan for the women's side of the bracket could be Mercedes Moné or whatever the hell her name is. I do not want to ever. I want to watch Sasha Banks, Mercedes Moné wrestle about as much as I want to see the Bella Twins back in WWE. I'm sorry. No, don't care.
All right, in the chat, there is something that I think would be akin to a nightmare for you, brainless one. Kenny reacting to Nia Jax walking down to the ring in a Victoria's Secret outfit.
He wouldn't know what to do. He wrestled a blow-up doll for 11 minutes. That's all I need to know about Kenny Omega. I can only imagine what other things he's done to that blow-up doll. But he's wrestled it for 11 minutes. I wouldn't want to see that because I would never watch wrestling again for WWE. Just like I don't know when the next time I'm going to watch AEW is after watching that first and only installment of QTV I ever want to watch in my life. It's horrible. I don't even care that the fact that they're even going to steal the fact that Wardlow's car was actually broken into and turning it into a storyline. I don't need to see it. You're not doing Hobbs any favors. He was better suited being in Team Taz, but then the problem was that Taz ended up being the best commentator you have in AEW. You can't argue with me on that. I'm sorry. It's not Excalibur, that's for damn sure. JR is, the end zone is in sight for Jim Ross in his career in professional wrestling. And Tony Schiavone doesn't even have the backing of his own owner. When his owner is trashing Ariel Helwani and saying, you're as reputable as Tony Schiavone is. It's Taz, people. And ever since then, Hobbs hasn't done anything. They broke up Team Taz. He turned on Ricky Starks. They had a bullshit 4-minute match at a pay-per-view, and then he won. Ricky Starks gets shown more on television. He feuds with Chris Jericho. Hobbs kind of just sits in catering and talks about the Book of Hobbs and everything. And then you put him in fucking QTV?
Would you say QTV is the equivalent to being put in Maximum Male Models?
No, it's worse because QT Marshall's part of it. I would rather be Mansoor than Aaron Solo.
Do you see them putting the Big Show into QTV?
No, I hope Big Show's there. I'll tell you what. If the Big Show wants to make amends for blocking us 6 years ago, just like Captain Fat Fuck did 7 years ago, if the Big Show goes in there as Captain Insano and tears apart QTV and it's never a thing again, the Big Show will be back in the Brainless One's good graces again.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know what, Gags to Clown? That was one of the best parts of Dynamite when MJF called out Sammy Guevara for getting engaged to a new girl in 7 months. That was great.
Yeah.
But one very, very sad note in AEW that is going to take away the joy of the show. We we're not going to get Danhausen for a little while. Apparently, he tore his pectoral muscle at Revolution.
I'm very, very sad to see that he tore his pec muscle. Let's see. Cody wasn't even gone a year.
Far back, probably too far back in it.
Well, he could probably. Yeah, he's not gonna be able to curse anybody for a while unless Orange Cassidy helps him deliver the cursing. But I was very sad to find out that Danhausen. The only reason I even watch AEW at all is because of Danhausen, because he's very nice and very evil. But I was very sad to see that.
Yeah.
There's one thing that I could say that I could liven up this podcast. Somebody that we mentioned earlier, Drew McIntyre, who is fighting Sheamus tonight to determine who's fighting Gunther for the Intercontinental title at WrestleMania. Almost didn't make it last week. Drew McIntyre was sick as a dog and was not medically cleared. He still showed up to the show and he got medically cleared right before the show and basically wrestled sick. I'm going to say this. Drew McIntyre is that dude. That is a guy that I can seriously back.
Back for him.
That's admirable, and I've always, I'll admit, I've done a complete 180 on Drew McIntyre from when I first started watching him until now, because he grew a beard and looked like a man. So,
well, I mean, he has always had kick-ass theme songs coming to always. And when Vince McMahon, I mean, he put the Mike Greenberg kiss of death on him by calling him the chosen one. And then, he eventually came back and made it full circle, but he was babyface looking back then. He wasn't grizzled in it. It's like going, as much as he was kind of an arrogant heel, like, you're like, I don't feel it. But now that, like, he got the beard and he's a bit more weathered, and like as much as Taryn Terrell, a.k.a. the former Tiffany, very good-looking girl, but apparently was not good for him and was part of what, derailed his push his first time in WWE, because she was causing so much stuff behind the scenes that they ended up, almost equivalent to what happens with Matt Hardy every time Jeff screws up.
Right.
It's like a derailment. It's like, but I didn't do anything.
Right.
But, I mean, Drew has fessed up and said, like, yeah, there were things about my life I could have probably tightened up and been better about, but he's come back stronger and is much, like, he held it together during the Thunderdome era. And I just hope at some point they rebuild him up and let him have his damn moment. It should have been at Clash at the Castle, and it should have been for one of the belts, and he should be one of the champions right now that's heading into Mania, having a high-profile match instead of right now being in
potentially off the card.
He's in purgatory right now, so he deserves better. But, I mean, if he ends up in triple threat for the IC strap, it might be match of the weekend.
Yeah. Very capable with the three guys that are going to be in that match.
If that's what it ends up being.
Yeah.
One thing I did not mention before, and I should have when we talked about Omos did mention he was on Andy Cohen's show, and he mentioned that he is going to get married sometime in the next year. So congratulations to Omos. You know what? Good for you, man. You're getting like a big-time match at the show of the Immortals, and you're getting married in the same year. Good on you, man.
I'm glad that you mentioned that, because there was something that I read before the podcast that it just popped in my head after you said that, and it really bothered me, because Omos is getting the match against Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
So, and you know how at the Royal Rumble they kind of teased Brock Lesnar and Gunther, and then Gunther did the interview and said, Brock Lesnar's basically my final boss. That's the guy I want to wrestle. That's my white whale type of thing. Well, apparently that wasn't the works, but they said Gunther hasn't established himself enough, and that he needs at least another year.
I wouldn't mind seeing that. As long as the company isn't sold to the Saudis, I would like to see that match in person next year.
But my whole thing is, Gunther needs another year before he can get into the ring with Brock Lesnar. But Omos, who is, as a lot of people were saying, Great Khali territory, I'll defend against that.
Yeah.
Nobody deserves that.
Yeah.
He's not,
he's not Khali or El Gigante. He's better than that. I would say that he's less experienced, but and doesn't seem like he's definitely not as nimble and not as skilled in the ring, but he's a couple of pegs lower than Braun Strowman is.
Yeah.
Although he and Braun, they put together a not too bad match for a couple of really big dudes.
Yeah. He looked pretty. From what the clips I saw, he actually looked pretty decent in that match.
Yeah.
Playoff 6-man tag match. Playoff.
Yeah, Gags, we did talk about Bray's absence, and the thing is nothing is super clear at the moment because you got some things out there saying that, you know, he walked out of WWE. There are some things out there that are saying that he's having issues with creative. There are some things out there saying he has a physical issue. It's all over the map. It's Lord knows what truly is going on. There's clearly something going on with Bray where he may or may not be at WrestleMania. Dave Meltzer has stated that the match is still on. They haven't said one way or another, but they haven't even officially announced the match per se, as much as it was like going, oh, I'll take on whoever wins between Bobby Lashley and Brock Lesnar. But, you know, it wasn't like there was a contract signed. It wasn't like anything like that. They have not made the graphic that shown up on the screen yet. They haven't pointed at the WrestleMania sign in the ring while they were together. It's not official.
Bobby Lashley is going to end up wrestling Uncle Howdy at WrestleMania. And he's going to bury Bo Dallas in like 26 seconds. And then that's when all the miscreants are going to come out and go after Bobby Lashley. And maybe that's when we get the returning and re-debuting Hurt Business 2.0 with whoever's in that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's
yeah.
I don't know what to like I said, Jay, I'm giving it till this doesn't do Bray any favors with the brainless one because I said it. I'm giving him till WrestleMania to get some kind of clarification on what the hell they're doing with him. You can't have all of this hype, and the only thing that we have is a bullshit 3-minute match that was sponsored by Mountain Dew be the only thing that we have with Bray Wyatt. I can only imagine what they had cooking up for the cereal match of the Cinnamon Toast Crunch sponsored thing at WrestleMania. Jay, they're going to probably do a stairs match just because. I'm convinced they have you bugged, and that's why they keep coming up with like the Punjabi prison again, and we're going to get the stairs match, and Nia Jax blows out both of her ACLs, you know. Well, I don't know what to think with Bray Wyatt. I need something, anything. You can't.
It feels like an awful lot of wasted talent and wasted time because, like, I'm okay with like a story not moving at warp speed, but when like you've had one on TV match and you've been back at the company for like 7 months.
I don't think it's been that long. It's October. November, December, January, February, March. WrestleMania is the 6-month mark, Jay. This is when Triple H said either shit or get off the pot. You have 6 months to prove what your worth is. And he's been back for 5 of those 6 months, and we've gotten a pitch black match with a horrible spot after the match between Uncle Howdy and poor LA Knight. Of course he's going to get pushed. They have to do something. They gave him the stupid Max Dupree shit, and then they freaking gave him the pitch black match. He's going to end up winning. Of course he's going to win Money in the Bank. They have to.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially because they fumbled 2 of the last 3 Money in the Bank winners. They fumbled the one when they did the one at Titan Tower that Otis won, that The Miz took from him in a match, that The Miz cashed in on Drew McIntyre just to drop the belt to Bobby Lashley 8 days later.
You're talking about the one where Rey Mysterio died?
And Aleister Black.
Yeah.
And they got thrown off the roof by Baron Corbin. And then this last one with Austin Theory, where you had to do everything after the Clash at the Castle. Austin Theory was just, that was it. He was done. After he was knocked out by Tyson Fury, that was it. There was no coming back from that. And to have him cash in on the United States champion in an open challenge and then lose? If he had gone out there, accepted the open challenge, got disqualified, then cashed in, yes, that makes all the sense in the world. And then you have him win the belt anyway. And it's funny. It's funny, too, that this report came out about how LA Knight, who got so over with the fans, of course he got over with the fans, because if you ain't talking about LA Knight, you ain't talking, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, I mean, you got to do it. You got to do it. It's...
Okay.
You got to pull
last week it was brought up, and I found out a little bit more. WWE specifically has requested in 3 different states that they would like to be able to have sports betting for the outcome of some of their bigger, high-profile matches. And WWE's take on this is that there are 7 states that allow betting on the Oscar Awards, on the Academy Awards. And they're like, how is that any different than what we do?
Boom, roasted.
They just got jammed.
They just got jammed. I like the reference.
So the 3 states that they have requested from the Gaming Commission to allow betting on professional wrestling outcomes are 3 of the 7 states that do allow
Oscar
betting on the Oscars. So Indiana and
Michigan,
Minnesota, and Michigan, those are 3 places that do allow it, and they recently allowed it. And WWE said, hey, we're going to put in safeguards to make sure that, like, just like the Oscars, there's no way, this is tamper-proof and nothing could happen. Do you know what the rebuttal is from people?
It's scripted.
Montreal, 1997. All best laid plans. Oh, yeah, we have this planned out months ahead of time, and then you have this thing happen.
I love the fact that Vince fucking WWE in 1997 still holds bearing in 2023. Speaking of which, I remember my train of thought now. How they said that they're on fire with this whole LA Knight thing and the fans being behind him. It came out before the show, or actually earlier this week. Vince McMahon was heard after he found out that the fans were pissed off about the outcome of the Baron Corbin-Kurt Angle match at WrestleMania. Vince McMahon said, and I quote, well, fuck them, in regards to the wrestling, the WWE fans.
And while we're on the talk of Vince McMahon, it's been reported that the biopic that they were planning to do on Vince McMahon's life that had everybody on board and the producers and directors said, when we do this, we want to make sure WWE Studios and everybody involved with WWE gives a thumbs up. We want this to, be what they want too. We don't want to ruffle any feathers. And you know who killed that one? Vince
McMahon? I'm shocked.
And the directors more or less said, like, going, well, put us on the list, long list of people who have been fucked over by Vince. Because I have recollections that, like, at some point Vince was like, yeah, let's do this. And similar to what the heck's the name of the documentary from 1999? He's gonna puke. He's gonna puke. The one with Jake Roberts and all that stuff. I'm blanking on it right now. But originally WWE was all cool with all the stuff going on in that documentary, and at the end they weren't, and tried to block it from happening. But all that being said, the Netflix documentary that they're doing on Vince McMahon is still moving forward. Now, when we're going to see that, Lord knows. Hopefully it's a lot better than what ended up on Vice, because what Vice did, they just repurposed a whole bunch of old shit. I want to see like a new in-depth look at the person and character of Vince McMahon, who is now morphed into Gomez Adams. I think he's trying to get the lead spot in season 2 of Wednesday. Beyond the Mat, thank you, Gags the Clown. Effing Mark's Hall of Famer right there.
Gags the Clown.
I hope Gags the Clown is enjoying his St. Patrick's Day and having himself a Guinness, because I know that Gags is definitely into having stouts. He enjoys stout beers. So I hope you're enjoying something like that, Gags, while you're grilling outside in the snow in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. I don't think you're in Green Bay, but
I really don't need to see anything about Vince McMahon, because I'm kind of in the boat with him that I am with Ric Flair, and the fact that people are still talking about Vince Russo. The only biopic I want to see is the Iron Claw one that they have about the Von Erichs. I've seen 2 of the actors that are in this movie. I am sold. It was what the hell was his name? Zac Efron is going to be playing one of the older brothers, and then they had the kid from the show with William H. Macy.
Oh, Shameless.
Shameless. One of the brothers from Shameless is going to be playing Kerry Von Erich. I saw the picture of him. I said, "Oh my God, he looks like the Texas Tornado."
Yeah.
I can't wait. I
thought he was looking at an old picture of his brother when his son showed it to him.
Wow. Yeah, I'm really excited for that Iron Claw one. That's gonna be fantastic. That's gonna be a great movie.
Yeah. As far as all my notes, I think the only other minor thing I got is that AEW Revolution did 130,000 pay-per-view buys roughly, which is a little bit under what they did last year, but still not too terribly bad. You know, whether or not we like the show, like, you know what, they keep people employed, and the fact that many people are buying it, you know, it's keeping it profitable and is just another place for wrestlers to be able to go, so, you know, they don't end up under the thumb of one company again.
All I'm going to say is when Cornette releases the clip, I'm not even going to do the clip by clip. I'm just going to find the breakdown of I might just listen to a whole episode of him talking about AEW Dynamite for this week. And I'm going to have some herbal supplements when I listen to it too, because I need to.
Oh, wait, I forgot one more thing. Wait. I'm very disappointed when I read this news today, and it is nothing against Wade Barrett, but hearing that Pat McAfee is probably not coming back to WWE, at least anytime soon, as far as being somebody who makes regular appearances. Like, I think, you know, you might see him at WrestleMania and make a special appearance in there. But, you know, clearly he's got a lot going on in his life. I think Wade Barrett's done a heck of a job on commentary on SmackDown. But, you know, there was something different about McAfee. You know, he was an outside force who clearly has a lot of respect for the business, that put a completely different twist in his own twist on commentary that just added an element of fun that hadn't been there in a while. So I'm sad that he is not going to be around, you know, on a regular basis, but I completely understand. The dude has a lot going on.
And I'll tell you right now, he said the right thing, because when he was asked about what Wade Barrett said, he said, "I just want you to know there's just a lot going on." He goes, "Especially with baby number 1 on the way. That's the most important thing in my life." And I'm not going to fault a man for saying that he's going to put his family first. I'm not. I can't fault him for that. But he did say that he is far from over in regards to building his WWE Hall of Fame career. We're going to see Pat McAfee back in WWE in some way, shape, or form.
is over the Drew Carey line already if you're going the celebrity route. And in my view, he's already over the Coco Beware line.
I was about to say, he wrestled Vince McMahon at WrestleMania. He doesn't need to do anything else. He got a victory at WrestleMania against Austin Theory. He wrestled Vince McMahon. I mean, he's the only person to ever lose to Vince McMahon at WrestleMania, but he wrestled Vince McMahon at WrestleMania. Oh, and by the way, he was able to drink beers with Steve Austin in the corner and then ate a stunner. And he ate the best stunner of anybody that night.
Vince McMahon had the best stunner of the weekend.
Vince, that might have been, I don't even know if that was the second worst or the worst stunner that Vince ever took.
The first one was really bad, too.
The sad part is the first and last stunners he's probably ever going to take are the two worst ones he's ever taken. I just don't think he was ready for the first one because he did take better stuff. Shane used to sell the shit out of those stunners. Not like The Rock could sell the shit out of a stunner, but Shane...
Stunner like The Rock. Except for if you caught Shawn Michaels and he got a stunner in 2005 at SummerSlam.
He would have done 27 somersaults and ended up in the 5th row.
Unprofessional little twat. I just mind.
So I've decided instead of doing one show, I am going to have everybody, if you want, please post on our Facebook page or Twitter if you want to tweet at us at the letter T, the letter H, the letter E, the letter F, the letter N, MARKS, the F in Marks. I'm going to put together 10 matches, and I'm just going to watch 10 random matches and just do the brainless experience of that. And I'm going to tell you right now, there's 2 matches in particular that I'm going to add. I want you to give me one match for sure. And I am telling you right now, Jay, I am nothing from Clash 13 unless it's primetime Brian Lee versus the Z-Man. And
I mean, the top of my brain's immediately gone to like Great Khali versus Batista in the Punjabi prison, but because it was, it was an absolute dumpster fire.
I was gonna say just not that or the match where PN News was apparently supposed to fall off of the scaffolding.
Baby, yo.
But I want shitty matches. I want you to give me a match that's going to make me want to smoke my brains out and then watch it. Because right now, the 2 matches that I'm going with are, number 1, the Gimmick Battle Royal from WrestleMania 17. And number 2, I am going to give the brainless breakdown of Kenny Omega and the Blow-Up Doll.
I was going to say, I think you could go back to, and I know you enjoyed the hell out of this match, but John Cena versus Bray Wyatt at WrestleMania.
Oh, the Firefly Funhouse. I don't think I've already seen that enough times. I might, just for tickles and giggles, I might throw Sami Zayn and Johnny Knoxville from last year's WrestleMania on there too.
I mean, you could always go back to, well, if you're looking for like shit show matches, I mean, we could find plenty of them. You could go to Scott Steiner versus Psycho Sid when he broke his leg in half.
Oh, no. That's my big no. I don't want serious injuries, so that's why I'm definitely not doing December to Dismember, because
not doing New Jack matches.
Oh, that's different. New Jack is different. You have to get high to watch New Jack matches. But yeah, I'm going to put together. I need a list of 10 matches, and I'll watch them one after the other, after the other, after the other, after the other. Chris Brown, I definitely want a match from you too. Gags the Clown, I want a match from you. Anybody wants to give me a match, I want shitty matches you want me to watch that that are easy to like find. I'm not watching the Great Antonio versus Antonio. And I've seen it. I don't need to see it again.
It was so good. So good.
But I'm definitely doing the Gimmick Battle Royal, and I'm definitely going to do the Kenny Omega and the Blow-Up Doll. Oh, no. Okay, fine. Done. Michael Cole and Jerry Lawler from WrestleMania. Oh
Mm.
boy. I'm sorry, I didn't see it at first. My bad. So gimmick battle royal. Okay. We're gonna
I think
do.
I want a bit more because I really want to come up with something that maybe you wouldn't expect that like is a hidden crap match. And I'm not going to make you watch WrestleMania 11 I Quit match. I'm not going to go that route. I'm not going to torture you. And
Cole and Lawler. I'm sorry, Cole and Lawler. That's a good one. That's another really shit one that I have to watch. Yeah. Am I doing the Punjabi prison?
let me think on it. I mean,
That's yeah.
that's the leader in the clubhouse.
That's fine. I may be more lenient. I mean, if you want to find some like dumpster WCW match that would like.
Oh,
I mean,
there were plenty of them.
Michael Cole and Jerry, that is fucking bad. Oh my god. I might add Sami Zayn and Johnny Knoxville, but I want shit matches. I want everybody to give me a shit match that they've seen that nobody should.
Death match. Ooh, WrestleMania 20, Brock versus Goldberg.
Brock Goldberg 20, got it in.
Orton Bray Wyatt with the bugs in the ring. Ugh.
I can't do that one again. I'm not I'm not doing Fandango and Jericho at 29 either. But yeah, I want matches. I want 10 I need 6 more shitty matches. Jay gives me 1 more. I want 5 more matches. Give me some shitty ones. I want the match where the Great Muta blows out the flame that caught on fire.
Hey, that Thunderdome match at Halloween Havoc, 1989.
Or the match where Mick Foley electrocutes Abdullah the Butcher.
Oh yeah. You know what? That's my match right there. That's the match.
All right, what is that?
The Chamber of Horrors. I want to say it was Halloween Havoc. I think it was 90. That
Chamber of Horrors
bomb.
I watched that with you.
So good. I mean, interesting idea, and when it played out, I mean, it was almost as bad as when the ring exploded with Kenny Omega.
Ooh, that's another one. What is that? That was Omega and Mox. Yes, that's 2 Omega matches. Yeah, that's great. I get to watch 2 Omega matches in the process.
Yeah.
I'm going to know what that is, too, when I just put Omega versus Mox.
Chris Brown, that is not offensive at all to the brainless one. He actually has watched that match 5,037 times already.
Really quick, I got a funny story for that. I made cookies, edibles, for WrestleMania 20. That was 28. And it was the first time we'd ever done cookies, and they were very, very potent. And I remember it was like we took them an hour before the show. I'm not gonna talk about how much I smoked that day too, but you know, I remember the cookies had just kicked in when Sheamus's music had hit to start the match, and I remember it was me and a bunch of my friends were at the house and we were watching it, and the bell rang, and he turned and he broke kicked Daniel Bryan. I jumped when he won the match in 18 seconds. I literally jumped out of my recliner. I was like, what the? I couldn't believe it.
Well,
I thought it was. I was just
brainless one. I'm just gonna throw this out as a potential idea. Can we wrap a whole bunch of your favorite squash matches into this? Like maybe have like Riddle versus Cassius Ohno.
Jay, I could put my 10. I could do that too. I could do 10 of my favorite squash matches. Is it Gerald Briscoe versus Pat Patterson in the evening gown match or the wedding dress match?
That's what he's saying.
Oh, okay, done. Briscoe and Patterson.
Mm.
All right. That's all the notes I have, Jay. You guys please send them to Facebook and everything.
Yeah, I've gone through everything, and I think that's it. I think it's time for our good, our bad, and our brainless.
Oh, there it is. All right, Cousin Jay, what do you got for your good for this week?
I'm going with Mick Foley this week. His response to Finn Balor, like, and the thing that tickled me was just specifically the fact that Foley the week before had put in his resume to become part of the Spooky Pals, and Finn responds in kind and asks him his advice for a Hell in a Cell match, and Mick says, "Don't do what I did." I loved it. I loved it.
For the record, I was going to make...
Much as Jamie Noble holding back Brock Lesnar was like, I mean, they were kind of like neck and neck, but I just love Foley. I always have.
I gave it to Mick Foley, even though I was ready to give it to Pete Dunne. I will say this, when Butch is gone and Pete Dunne is back, that will be, well, unless something crazy else happens, Pete Dunne coming back will be my good. But I cannot not give it to Mick Foley. Mick Foley absolutely deserves it this week.
I was over Unger, and Unger was overdone.
What do you got for your bad?
I am going with AEW Dynamite. And as much as I prefer not to give generalities, it was a shit bomb. This was one of the worst wrestling shows I have seen. Probably if I had been there in person, I would have been very disappointed. I would have felt like I was perhaps a couple of steps up from Hampton Roads Championship Wrestling. It was just that bad. The in-ring stuff was not Hampton Roads Championship Wrestling bad, but the characters within said show, and it's like you've got some really high-level performers that have done really good work, and I'm like, what is this? What is this? I know some of them are still trying to find their footing, but like when you sit there and having them like character-wise do a heel and face turn inside of 30 seconds, it feels like Big Show and Kane and name whoever else out there turns every 30 seconds. It was just terrible.
I would have given it to AEW Dynamite, but it's going to ultimately end up being AEW Dynamite because my bad this week goes to Danhausen. Danhausen tearing his pec is bad for AEW because now I have no reason to watch AEW Dynamite or Rampage.
Holy sugar. That's an awful money for floor seats there.
To watch Kenny Omega lose.
Yeah.
But yeah. So yeah, Danhausen gets my bad for this week.
Okay.
And what do you have for your brainless?
Dear Facebook. You suck. I'm looking forward to quitting you. Brainless One posts something completely innocuous that has nothing offensive to it. Nothing offensive to it. And you take it down because it violates community standards. What community standard did it violate? It just had a dude sipping on a cup of coffee who had a sign that says WWE they're doing with Bray Wyatt. Prove me wrong. What is so offensive about that? Not asking anybody or anything to do anything offensive towards anybody, not offering harm to anybody, not doing anything.
To anybody.
There was no violent picture. There was nothing offensive in the picture. But yet, you take something down like that for a community standards. What the hell is the community standard? I saw about 10 things worse than that posted on Facebook today. Why did you go after that? We have reels that are far worse than that. we have other posts that are far worse than that, and they don't get noticed. But something completely innocuous like that, like, why? Why? This is supposed to be a place where you're supposed to be able to speak, and like, I don't know. It's like there's so much crap out there now that like everybody wants to get offended by one little thing. It's like I can say something and there will be somebody in the world that will get offended by it. I could say I am a Christian man. Somebody could be offended by it and be like, oh, well, I'm an atheist, or I'm agnostic, or I'm a Muslim. And it's like, oh, well, you know what? In the Christian faith, you're supposed to love anybody no matter what they are if you're doing it right. But there's somebody out there who, because I say I'm Christian, could be offended. And are you going to take that down because I say this and that it violates a community standard because I offended somebody? It's like going, hey, like, isn't this supposed to be a thing where we talk about ideas? I know as much that there's a lot of keyboard warriors out there who are big, bad, and tough, but like quite literally, we said and did nothing offensive, and you took a post down. You know what? These posts take freaking time. You know what? Somebody out there named Mark Zuckerberg and a whole bunch of other people at Facebook are making money because guess what? We're putting content out there on a forum he created. Hey, he created it, and we're on it, but he's making money because people come to this because of content creators. So we make content and put time and effort in, well, we're taking this down. Why? There's no reason why. It's just a bunch of bullshit. And Facebook gets my brainless this week. And by the way, if you have not subscribed to us on YouTube, make sure you do that. We are at the FNMARKS on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to that.
And on Twitter, and on Instagram, and on, what am I forgetting? Facebook. I'm already on Facebook. So, and now, Jay, I just want you to know that you both were in agreement at one point this week on Brainless. But unbeknownst to you, unfortunately, something this week actually happened that made me forget about what happened with Facebook because it was far more offensive, far more disgusting, and I really wish I hadn't seen it. And that happens to be QTV. So I know that you were probably thinking that you were not going to have to do a poll on Twitter to determine what the Brainless was, but I'm afraid I've got some bad news for you. I'm sorry, Jay. I'm not even kidding. I literally turned off the television before it was even over. It was that bad, that offensive. I couldn't watch it. I'm putting them back on probation for another, I don't even know, till Danhausen comes back.
Are you putting them on probation until Stone Cold Steve Austin and Kevin Nash and The Undertaker start watching again?
See, I should join their pack. I wouldn't even be in this situation where I have to watch Kenny Olivier in meaningless matches that are just booked just for ha-has. Like we're getting El Vikingo del Gigante or whatever the hell his name is versus Kenny Omega.
You're going to see Kenny at SummerSlam. Kenny and Brock Lesnar.
Please. That's all I want. I just want that. I want to be a fly on the wall when Kenny Omega rolls up and walks by Brock Lesnar the first time. Because Brock's going to say something, and Kenny's going to get all upset. Who's he going to do? You're going to go tell Vince? You're going to tell Triple H? Well, Brock Lesnar said something offensive. Go do something about it. Ugh. I'm going to go and take 19 Canadian destroyers from a blow-up doll and a mop. That'll teach him.
Then Brock will take you to Suplex City 20 times.
I hope so. I hope Kenny Omega never gets in another wrestling match again if he gets in the ring with Brock. But if Gunther is still a year away from getting in the ring with Brock, then Kenny Omega's never going to get in the ring with Brock.
Yeah.
He needs to spend about 6 months or a year in NXT UK or Europe or wherever the hell it is, then move to NXT, be there for 2.5 years, work under Shawn Michaels, then come to the main roster. And by the time he's 70, he'll be able to fight Brock Lesnar.
Oh, breaking news. Rey Mysterio will be going against Dom at WrestleMania. I hope they end up using the same stipulation they used for the Big Boss Man and the Mountie. At SummerSlam, loser goes to jail for the night.
Yeah.
That'd be great. I like what was pitched before by
Doug
Conan at the Hall of Fame speech. That would have been a better idea.
The guy Doug from East Tennessee, he came up. I loved it.
Yeah,
that's better than him just challenging him now. So,
but
anyway, if you like what you've seen, whether you are a first-time watcher or a continuous fan, make sure you like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram, and subscribe to us on YouTube at the letter T, the letter H, the letter E, the letter F, the letter N, MARKS, the F and Marks. If you like, follow, and subscribe to us, we will do the same back. That has always been our
mantra. And make sure you set up notifications so that when we are live, you will be notified that we are live. Also, make sure that you give a like and subscribe to our Spotify page. If you're not able to watch the show while we're live, I put it up on Spotify. It's got the video on it, but you could actually listen straight to our show. All usually 2+ hours of it. So I try to post that usually Saturday after. So, make sure you subscribe on Spotify, and definitely subscribe on YouTube. And until we get to the level we need to on YouTube, I guess we'll keep doing the show here with the place that may block almost everything we do.
Wait. I just want to make a quick announcement before I make my real announcement. I just want you guys to know that me, Curtis Axel, F and Marks Hall of Famer, whatever platform that the F and Marks do their show on going forward, I will still be a part of it. Because at the end of the day, I am the perfect wrestler. Because nobody knows more about perfection than a guy who's still alive 8 years later. But did you know, Cousin Jay, that today, St. Patrick's Day, 2023, this gentleman right here, Curtis Axel, you see this man? This Evan Marks Hall of Famer, Curtis Axel? Evan Marks Hall of Famer, Curtis Axel! 2,973 days is still alive in the 2015 Royal Rumble.
Bow, 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 down. Bow, 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 down, down.
So for episode 304 of everyone's favorite wrestling podcast, the F and Marks,
I'm Jay, and he is...
I am the brandless one. Make sure you mark out
with your walk out. See you, everybody. Enjoy SmackDown. We will see you next week. Yeah.
Yep. And I'm going to hit a couple more people up. I need 3 more matches. And hopefully sometime in the next week or two, I can plow through 10 matches and give you guys another brainless experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. Later, everyone.
All right. See you, everybody. See you, Cousin Bobby.
Later, Cousin Jay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Got it.